All right. Well, if you guys want to share the area, the licensure area that you guys are leaning towards in the chat box, that would be really helpful so that we could, say that again? Okay. If you guys want to go ahead and start adding in the group chat just your areas of licensure, the area that you are interested in teaching, the age range that you're interested in teaching, that would be really helpful so we could try to format some of the answers to fit those areas and kind of focus some of our attention there. And then I think what we're going to do is, for now, you're welcome to have your videos on. We really enjoy seeing your faces, but I think we're going to have you all maybe mute your microphones for the time being. And then we're going to have you guys use the chat feature, which hopefully you guys can see. I know not everyone's super familiar with Zoom. So if you go to the bottom, there's a button you can click that says chat, and that's where you can sort of add your comments and then we can view them. So it looks like we're hitting 11 o'clock. So I'm just gonna kick things off really quickly just to introduce myself. My name is Allison Goldhammer. I'm the Associate Director of Enrollment at John Carroll University. I'm so excited that you guys are taking time out of your Saturday to join us today for our virtual celebration event. Obviously, we all wish this was happening on campus, but we're hoping that we're able to give you some of the energy and the excitement that you would get actually being physically with us on campus by sharing some amazing videos and stories and ability to interact with some of our faculty, our staff, as well as current students and some of your future classmates at John Carroll. So welcome. We're so excited to see you guys today, to chat with you guys today. Just to quickly kind of transition into the academic side of things, U.S. News and World Reports actually ranked John Carroll University #1 in undergraduate teaching in the Midwest for 2020. That's because we strive for more than what's required academically, more than what's required personally and socially. We're really here to try to empower you to achieve what others see as improbable. We recognize that lifelong exploration connects us to endless discovery and wonder and joy. So when you graduate from John Carroll, you'll graduate unafraid to pursue the unknown. And we have one of those faculty members with us today, Mark Storrs, who is a faculty member in our Education and School Psychology department. And then we also have a current student with us. Calvin is a senior from Pittsburgh who's focusing on middle childhood education. So they're here to answer your questions. Hopefully you got a pretty good overview from the education session that we had recorded and shared with you guys via video this morning. So this is really your chance to kind of get some of those more specific questions that maybe weren't touched on in that session answered. So like I said, we're gonna have you guys use the chat feature. You're welcome to have your videos on, although it's not required. Not everyone's camera ready at 11 o'clock on a Saturday. But you guys are welcome to do that. And then if you wanna just ask your questions in the chat box, and also if you wanna share your intended area of teaching or licensure, that would be helpful as well, so we could sort of target some of those areas. So as you guys are doing that, I know a question that we get often is sort of what are the differences between the different areas that you can pursue at John Carroll as far as the different education programs?
Do you want me to take that? Or
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right. So good morning, everybody. Glad you're all here. Thanks for coming, and thanks for your interest in education. I've been at Carroll for 22 years, working in the education department, and so I'm biased, but it's a wonderful place to learn and to prepare to be a teacher. So really glad that you are interested in Carroll and in our education program. So I'm impressed to see that there are two people who already know that the license for early childhood has changed in the state of Ohio. So you guys are on top of things. So yeah, so the first license is early childhood, which now goes from pre-kindergarten to grade 5. That program is up now. The freshmen who came in this year will be the first ones to get the P5 license. So you will graduate with that license to teach all subjects in pre-kindergarten through grade 5. And then there's the middle child license that I'm so happy to see some of you are interested in. Calvin can speak to that because he's been living it for 4 years, but that program will prepare you to teach 2 subjects in grades 4 through 9, and you choose between language arts social studies, science, and mathematics. And I'm impressed that the people who put up middle child have already identified their areas. So I'm really, this group, Allison, is on top of stuff. And then the third license that we offer is the adolescent young adult. Actually, you will double major. You'll leave John Carroll with 2 majors, a major in your teaching field. So I see we have a couple English, language arts, and math and social studies. Your primary major will be in your content area, and then you'll also get a secondary major in education. And I should just back up a moment and say, those of you who are in early child and middle child, your degree will be in education. If you want any other information, did I go in deep enough, or any specific questions about the license? That would be great.
I think we'll leave it up to the students if you want to post in the chat box any questions that you have if you want more detailed information. I know another thing that we wanted to share was talking a little bit about the experience that students have early on, and then also even sort of tying in with their professional year when they're actually like student teaching and having that experience.
Yeah, so I can talk about that one. Hello, everybody. My name's Calvin. I'm a middle child education major, and I actually transferred in from the business school sophomore year. So I have a little bit of a different experience. And I jumped in right away spring semester sophomore year with the classes that you would normally be taking freshman year, which is Ed 100 and Ed 253, which are both field experience courses. So with Ed 100, I got a very good in-depth look at the different kinds of licensures that I could possibly get, and also the different schools that I could go to. So urban, suburban, parochial schools. I got to visit 3 different schools, and it was a really good chance for me to see early on what the classroom looked like, because it's been a while since I was in like an elementary school classroom and things like that. So it was really good to get that experience early on, and just to kind of see like what I was getting myself into after I transferred in. So there's that. And then Ed 253 is a service learning course. So I was still working directly with students, but it wasn't in a typical classroom setting. So one of the great things that I've experienced at John Carroll is the opportunities for service. And I've gotten so many different experiences through CSSA and through different service learning courses, where I've gotten to see kids in different academic areas, such as like after school programs, or even in the classroom tutoring. And then going on to the professional year. So that's like our version of student teaching. Rather than having like one semester at the end of the year where we're just like completely immersed in the classroom, we have a full year where we're working with the same students at the same school for the entire school year. So in the fall, I started at Mayfield Middle School in 8th grade, science and social studies on the same team. So right off the bat, like my senior year, I knew that's where I was going to be doing my like entire student teaching. So I was really able to jump in and just get to know the kids, which was really great for me later on. So now that I have a really good relationship with them because I had that entire year. And I also got to like kind of like get my feet wet a little bit before I actually jumped into student teaching. I was going 1 day a week in the fall. And again, I was getting to know the students little by little. And then I was also kind of starting to lesson plan a little bit more, starting to get more involved in the units. And then after that, whenever I came back for the spring, I was able to jump in full time.
Great, thank you for sharing that. We did have a question that was posted asking if JCU offers an intervention specialist major. Is it doable to get your MCED degree and an intervention specialist degree at the same time?
Unfortunately, at this moment in time, John Carroll does not offer the special education licensure program. We are most likely going to begin to offer it, but I couldn't promise that it would be ready for you folks. I think it's something that we have gotten permission to pursue, but it takes some time to actually get a program created and accepted by the state of Ohio. So we do not currently offer that program. I can tell you though, the second half of the question, for the universities that do have the combo programs, it is very, very difficult to get the middle child license and the special ed license in four. Many students have to add on a semester. in order to get the dual, because you're actually getting 2 majors plus all that content in your 2 areas. So it's a huge program, and but it's a good program, but we're just not ready to be there yet.
Dr. Stores, don't we have some additional like a reading specialist and things like that, other programs that students can pursue as well?
Those are at the graduate level now. So
Okay.
as an undergraduate, you would take 4 literacy courses, 12 credits. It's required by the state of Ohio. There's something in the state called a reading endorsement. And an endorsement is something you add onto your license. And so if you have those 4 undergraduate courses and then you take 4 additional graduate courses, then you add the reading endorsement to your license and you're able to teach reading in grades K through 12.
And then I think sort of tying in with that, we do have a Masters of Ed program that's quite popular. Can you talk a little bit about what that transition looks like from students going from their undergrad at John Carroll into that master's program?
Sure. A master's degree is typically 30 credit hours. And so depending on whether you do a master's degree full-time or part-time, it could take anywhere from a year to 2.5 to complete. And there are a variety of things that you can get a master's degree in. You're certainly encouraged to get a master's degree in our profession because we're always lifelong learners and we always want to enhance and deepen our knowledge base for our students so that we become more and more effective in our work as teachers. But there's also the possibility of doing graduate work in leadership, where you principal's license. One of the things I do say to my students who are interested in special education is after you finish your undergraduate degree, you could go to it and get your specialist at the graduate level. And a lot of folks do that because once you have like an early child or middle child license, you can go on in graduate school and add to that license. A lot of folks will do that. Other folks, wait a little bit before they get their master's degree and go out and teach for a while, find out what they're really passionate about, find out what they want to deepen their knowledge in, and then they go back and they get their master's degree, typically part-time while they're teaching. And that's where you're looking at more like 2 or 2.5 years. But there's so many things to get a master's degree in: school counseling, school psychology, technology. For those of you in secondary education, a lot of teachers go back and get their master's degree in their field, like in English. John Carroll has a wonderful master's program in English. And so a lot of teachers who have an undergraduate degree in English will come back, get a master's degree in English. The other thing you may or may not know about our profession is, at least right now, teacher salary is based in part on your education. So the more graduate education the higher you go up on the pay scale. So that's sort of another incentive for thinking about graduate school, other than the intrinsic value of improving your knowledge base.
Definitely. We had a student ask, do you offer any speech literacy for early childhood education besides reading?
We do not. I mean, oral communication and speech issues are embedded courses because that's something that early childhood teachers have to be very aware of in terms of how to enhance the oral communication skills, or to be able to diagnose when their students might be having a delay, a developmental delay in oral communication. So those types of things are embedded in the coursework, but there's not a particular course on speech literacy. And of course, they would also be embedded in the literacy courses, because when we talk about literacy, the reading courses, and Calvin, having taken the 4 classes, you might add here, but when we talk about literacy, we're talking about more than reading. And so we're talking not only about being literate in that way, but we're also talking about mathematical literacy, we're talking about oral literacy, and so all of that is of a piece.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. We have a course directly based on phonics, which I guess deals with speech literacy more than the other 3 courses that I've taken. And coming from a middle child perspective, I didn't really think that I would have to work on speech literacy for my major, but it was really good to get that base. especially like whenever I'm working with students who are below grade level in reading or like have trouble speaking orally, and I can work with them, even though I don't necessarily have like an intervention specialist go of things, if that makes sense. And then the other three classes, we definitely deal with speech literacy a lot. Dr. Dan Reynolds has taught the other three courses that I've taken, and he has done a great job of teaching us about the whole scope of literacy. So that even goes beyond speech. It goes like to like body language or like using your hands. Like you can use like things like that to determine literacy that way. So we definitely get like a broad scope of things beyond speech and reading.
And Calvin, I don't know if we just want to add, Calvin was able to use skills that he learned in his classes in Jamaica. We were in Jamaica over the winter break, and I have this great picture of Calvin diagnosed a very young Jamaican boy, and it was really cool. So he was able to take those skills that he learned in these classes and actually use them in Jamaica.
Yeah, so I could talk a little bit about that. I'm not sure if you've heard of our immersion program, but I had an opportunity to go with Dr. Stores to Mandeville, Jamaica, and we got to go to a primary school. So I worked with a little boy, his name was Najero, and he was 8 years old in second grade, and he didn't know how to read. So I was working with one of the volunteers down there doing a year of service, and I actually conducted literacy assessments with Najero, and it was directly what I learned in one of my literacy classes. So it was really cool to kind of see that like what they're doing in Jamaica was very similar, like assessment wise, to what they're doing here. And it was a life-changing experience for me to be able to work with this kid. And he didn't know how to read. He got very frustrated because as soon as he saw sentences, he was like, I can't do it. But after working with him and like trying to convince him that like he has the power to do it, he just had this big grin on his face, and I'm never going to forget him. Because of like how hard he worked to even just read a few sentences. So,
well, kind of in that vein, can you talk a little bit about your ability to balance, your extracurriculars or your involvement at John Carroll with your major, especially now that you're student teaching and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. So I have been involved in the Center for Service and Social Action. I was a student liaison for a while there. And I'm also very involved in the campus ministry department. So I have worked with Dr. Stores ever since I joined the major, obviously. And he and the other instructors have done a great job of being flexible with people who have a lot of extracurricular activities. And it's definitely a challenge to try and balance like as many things as you want to whenever you enter John Carroll, because with the amazing clubs and programs that we have to offer, you kind of just join everything all at once. But the great thing about John Carroll and the small class sizes is the professors really get to know you, and like they've all been super flexible with me whenever I'm like, hey, like I have a concert for the a cappella group that I might not be able to turn this in on time, and they're like, all right, that's fine, just get it to me tomorrow or whatever. So it's definitely takes some adjusting. They're great with working with you, and if you're having trouble, if you're struggling, like they're like go and talk to your professors, and they're able to help you out.
That's great that they are so flexible in working with you. I know that that's something that, especially now with what we're dealing with, is probably extra handy. So talk a little bit about that. I know we were talking before we sort of kicked things off. Student teaching, while this unique situation is going on, what does that look like for you? How has that impacted you, and sort of how are you navigating that?
So my school, Mayfield Middle School, has already started something called All Access Learning. So it's all about making personalized learning for each and every student. And we have really focused on the self-paced model. So like having a lot of stuff for students to work through on their own and kind of being like their support. So during the fall semester and beginning of the spring, I had a lot of practice working with self-paced learning, developing curriculum that was feasible to work. Like if a student wasn't able to come in for a week, or if he got really sick, he was able to like watch presentations or like kind of have like a flipped classroom so that they were able to work. And whenever we heard about the decision to go completely online, it was a really easy transition for myself and my cooperating teacher, because we developed something, like I said, the layered curriculum, where the students had stuff that they could work through. They had worksheets that they could use, guided readings for the textbook. And they, like the first 3 weeks of online learning, we kind of just like sat back and were there to support, doing daily Zoom calls, making sure that the students were working through the curriculum properly. And then the district has said that they're going to focus more on math and language arts. So my teacher and I decided that we're going to kind of space things out a little bit in terms of our assignments and really allow the kids to have the time to work on the subjects that they wanted to prioritize district-wide. And it's been really great. I've been Zooming with my kids daily, and it's usually like 10 to 12 of the 100 kids on my team. And like, we just talk and I just see how they're doing and give them the outlet where they're able to just kind of relax and just get that social interaction, even though it's virtually, which has been really great. And it's definitely been an adjustment for me. I'm learning a lot on the fly with online instruction, but so is everyone else. So I think it's going to be a great experience to, if something ever happens like this again, where we need to go online, I've already been prepared for it through Zoom teaching.
That's a really good point. I think it's something that probably isn't thought about, how to navigate this kind of situation, because odds are in your career, you may never see this again. But it's great that you, I mean, turning it into a positive, it's great that you get this experiential learning opportunity, right?
Right.
We did have a student ask, what is your favorite thing about the education major?
First off, the kids, just getting to know like different students from all over the Cleveland area has been amazing, whether that be through like the service learning courses or through student teaching or field experience. I've gotten to meet kids from like urban areas. I've gotten to meet kids from like suburban Mayfield. And it has just been so cool to like get to work with so many different types of students. And like some of my favorite students, like the kids that I'll remember for life, have come through like me being able to work through it through being an ed major. So that has been really great. And the second, definitely the people in the major. My closest friends are all in the middle child major. There's only four of us in the undergrad program for middle childhood. So we have gotten very close, very tight knit. And the instructors have been great too. Like I said, I've known Dr. Swords ever since I changed my major, and it's been really great to work with him all these years. And I've gotten to go to Jamaica with him and another faculty member. So definitely the people. And I mean, students are definitely people too. So I just have to encapsulate it all in one there.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, I know we only have a few minutes left, so for those of you that are joining us, I'm going to give you one last chance to ask your questions in the chat function right now. Just a few quick housekeeping items before we sort of wrap things up. We do have a few other sessions starting at 11:30, so I know as you're sort of making the decision not only on where to go to school, but you may also be considering a few different programs. We do have several sessions starting at 11:30 for biology, chemistry, and pre-health professions, computer science, data science, and mathematics, exercise science and sports studies, physics and engineering physics, as well as psychology, and then our Tim Russert Department of Communication are all going to be hosting the same kind of live Q&A session starting at 11:30. So you can go to jcu.edu/celebration to find the links there. We also have a few live streams coming up today. At noon, we have our Bowler Professional Development Program, as well as our Center for Career Services are both offering live streams. And then at 12:30, we have both a residence life and a commuter students, different sessions that are going to be offered. And then the fun, exciting engagement opportunity at 1 o'clock, we have our admitted student reception. And then your parents are also welcome to join in for a parents reception and current JCU parent panel. Both of those are going to be happening at 1 o'clock. So I just wanted to make sure if any of you were thinking about pursuing any of those other live streams or things like that today, that you had the opportunity to do so. It does look like we have a few other questions that were posted. One is asking, does the education major have any special service opportunities? So I know you talked about the immersion experiences, but what other opportunities are there potentially for service with education?
Well, the great thing about education is that there are so many different opportunities for service, even beyond like something that's like super special. So every single one of my drives for CSSA and my service opportunities there have been education related. So whether that's working with after school tutoring or even in school tutoring, I got to do a program called Carol Reads, which is a research-based program working with students like bi-weekly, or not bi-weekly, 2 times a week, like teaching them literacy. So that has been really great. But I think, I'm not sure if there's anything like particular to the ed department that is for service, but you can find service in the education field through CSSA. Jesuit Day of Service is a annual thing that you can work at a school and like help build up a school that way. And then the immersion program, Jamaica, was definitely education based. I think 6 or 7 of us were ed majors going down out of the 10 student participants. So there are definitely opportunities education-wise, like all around campus.
There's also a wonderful program through, again, through the center that Calvin has referenced called Youth for Justice. And a lot of our education students get involved in that. It's a matter of going to the East Cleveland schools and to some of our urban Catholic schools and working with middle school on a project related to social justice. And our students are able to go in and work with these students and coach them in creating an original research project around an important issue for them in their community. And then they come to our campus in May and they have a presentation, a judge presentation. So that's another opportunity. And then a lot of your coursework, you're going to have field experiences attached to that coursework. And while that's not exactly service, you are out in schools working with young people in all of those experiences. So I'd say over the course of your 4 years, you will find yourself in classrooms or in out of classroom settings a lot. By the time you're at student teaching, you have had a lot of interaction with the age group that you're going to be focusing on. So,
yeah, I was able to participate in the Youth for Justice program through our multicultural education class. We kind of linked the Center for Service and Social Action and Multicultural Education together, and I was able to work with 4 students from St. Thomas Aquinas School in East Cleveland, and I helped them build a presentation about police brutality. So it was really cool to get like their direct experiences that they've had with police brutality or like a family member that they've talked to, and really see them be passionate about what they were learning about. So that was definitely a great experience to me.
That's wonderful. Sorry, go ahead.
Before we go, can I just commend all of you young people for joining or for considering education? You know, again, I'm biased. I've been a teacher for over 40 years, but you're choosing one of the most noble professions that's out there, and the impact that you're going to have on the lives of young people, you don't even have a clue what that impact is going to be. And so I just want to commend you and thank you for pursuing education, because it is, in my mind, the most important profession out there, because without us, there wouldn't be anybody else, right? And so, so feel good about what you're doing, and it's not easy, and you're going to discover when you get to the other side of the desk that exactly the way it looks, student side of the desk. There is not a better way to contribute to our society than to work with children and to help them navigate their world. So congratulations on this choice, and I wish you all the very, very best.
Well, thank you, Dr. Storrs, and thank you, Calvin. I really love the sentiment that you shared, and I think, you know, anyone that is considering working in the field of education has probably been impacted by a teacher, and that is likely what is leading them to want to have that positive impact on someone else. And so hopefully pursuing that at John Carroll will give them the skills as well as the compassion and thoughtfulness that will help them be, you know, really strong and successful in this field in the future, and really have that positive impact that they're looking to make. So with that, we're really kind of wrapping up for this session. I want to thank our panelists for joining us and sharing their insight and their experience, so that you guys hopefully have a better feel for what this will look like if you were to pursue this opportunity at John Carroll, which we hope you will. I encourage you guys to participate in those sessions that I mentioned coming up the rest of the day. Sort of join in where you can. And then, of course, if you have any questions going forward, don't hesitate to reach out to your enrollment manager. We are here to answer those questions, help you navigate these next steps. So don't be shy about getting in touch with us with anything that you may need. I did see that Calvin did post his email in the in the chat feature. So you're welcome to contact him directly with any questions.
I'll do the same thing.
Perfect. And so please don't hesitate to reach out with any of those specific questions that you may have. I want to thank all the students for joining us today as well. Again, I know this is a unique situation, and we appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday to learn a little bit more about the education and school psychology programs at John Carroll and all the other wonderful things that we have to offer you. So enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy virtual celebration, and go Blue Streaks.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye now. Did we lose Calvin already?
I think so, yeah.
I wanted to tell him how proud I was. If he talks like that in an interview, the way he was talking about Mayfield and what he's doing there in this virtual thing, he's got such a command of this.